Hello, welcome to the CommQuest Hope Discovered podcast. I am Dr. Michele Heberling. I'm our Chief Clinical Officer at CommQuest, and I am sitting today with Nicole Morrett, one of our very supportive board members, and I'm excited to have an opportunity to talk with her today. We're going to be talking about what happens when an individual is suddenly sidelined by an injury or a diagnosis, and the impact that that can have on one's sense of self-identity, mental health, and relationships in their life. And so I'm honored to have this conversation with Nicole today. And I'm just going to start by asking you if you could kind of set the stage for when your journey started with all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Equally honored to be here with you. So what set the stage is, we were so excited. It was July. We had our first little one, and his name is Noah. And, very new mom and all of the exciting feels, but I also wasn't feeling well. And I was trying to figure out what is going on. And of course, you go to the ER and you go to some of these physicians and their first thing is, hey, you're postpartum. This is, very normal. Until we realized it wasn't. So between sepsis and, ongoing kidney infections and some surgeries, postpartum, I started to experience just a lack of mobility, passing out without notice, and things that really keep you from being able to be fully present with your family, let alone a newborn and an infant. And so we've had to make a lot of adjustments and really rethink the way that we were living life to really try to put our family first through the season.
Can you sort of take us back to how you were feeling when you were
absolutely
really starting to feel the impact of this, something's not right, and just trying to sort of wrap your head around everything that was going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's kind of interesting is I think, when you first have a little one, you're on an emotional high, right? So everything is amazing. It's like, oh, look how he's breathing. Look at, how amazing this is. And then you kind of get to this point where I'm starting to feel the physical impacts of just this immense amount of pain that's not going away and fevers that were kind of spiking into the 104, 105 space repeatedly. And we just said, hey, I know that something's not quite right. I think the hardest part, to be honest, was less having those feelings of frustration or not being able to be my best self. And I think it was harder trying to advocate for myself. I mean, it came to a point where I was bringing my husband with me most places so that he was able to say, no, she's doing that. No, we're doing this. We've been trying this. And to have the advocacy with me in all of those situations. I think I felt, it's really hard to try to put into words. I felt like a split person where a part of me was just on cloud nine, blissfully happy. We've waited a really long time. We didn't know if having a little one was going to be part of our story. So to be sort of towards the end of the childbearing phase of life and to be able to do that was like an immense gift. And then the other half was just saying, I really wish that I could be fully present. And I had to take a moment to mourn the loss of what I thought that first few weeks and months were going to look like. The, pumpkin patch visits and the sitting them up in pumpkin patches and doing all the fun things that you think about with a little one, and just learn to appreciate the small moments that we were having, in our living room and on the floor, and just a more quiet season of life than what I had planned. Yeah.
How did you get to that place? How did you get to that place where you realized what I need is I need to mourn what I'm not experiencing?
Oh, that's such a great question too. I think it came down to, I really realized limitations that I was having physically. And it's kind of a gift, I guess, in that respect that, while I was certainly struggling emotionally, when you physically aren't able to maintain the energy to go somewhere or to do something, or you're in such an immense amount of pain that you're not able to accomplish that, I think it got to a point of just, I realized that in order for me to be more present for Noah, in order for me to still embrace the seasons that we have, the days that we had, I realized that I couldn't live in a space of I couldn't live in a space of wishing that it was different. I had to start appreciating what it was for what it was. I had to stop asking myself, why? Why is this happening? Because that really is kind of an irrelevant question. I can't fix that. I can't fix the why. But what I can do is I can say, at the end of the season, I want to be a better version of myself. At the end of the season, I want my son, to have been able to have this really whole experience with me. And even though it's going to look different than what I want that more. And so I think it was just a moment of saying, what's more important to me, what lies ahead of us or where I'm sitting right now? And to me, that was what lies ahead. And that allowed me to stop and to pause and to cry and to mourn and to say, hey, this isn't the season that I wanted, and to look at it differently. I also have to recognize my family, like the real cheerleaders and champions of this season of life for me. So, as I was kind of mourning the loss of all the little things that happen, the family photos, the little gatherings that you hope to be able to make it to. My mom and her husband came in town and they decorated our backyard with like pumpkins and little fall fest things, and took family photos of us. And I didn't have to go anywhere, and I didn't have to walk anywhere. And that made such a significant difference, because I feel like my mom has just been such a champion in allowing me to be the mom. Acknowledging that is such a special and sacred role that I get to have at this season. Yeah. And so instead of being a caretaker and taking the baby and doing all these other things, she said, okay, what can I do to allow you to have something really special? So, I give a lot of credit to my family during the season for just stepping in and allowing me that sacred space of being mom, and helping to make accommodations in my life so that I could feel like I was able to be someone I'm proud of in that season,
That's amazing. How has it been? I got the chance to meet your husband a little bit earlier, which was wonderful. How have your roles changed throughout this experience? That sometimes can be a big deal.
Oh,
it's very
huge.
different.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Well, we had plans. I'm a big planner. My husband's a big planner. We both loved our careers and leadership. And so naturally, just even having a baby was going to switch some things up, right? And then adding to the plate, also becoming a caregiver. I'll go back to what I was mentioning earlier, which is I think he's done an amazing job, and I try to tell them this often, of enabling me to be mom and feel really, really powerful in that. And then he cares for me. And make sure that I have the things that I need to be successful. So we have a separate room set up right now where our bottles, our formula, everything, changing station, everything is kind of set up in one space, so I don't have to walk around in the middle of the night. Little things that were important to me. Now, would he wake up if I wanted him to? I'm sure he might be a little crabby. Yeah. But he makes sure that the things that were really important to me, we make it happen. And we make sure that those things, stay true. And so I think that maybe our roles just shifted, where typically I'm the caretaker of our home. And I think they've shifted a little bit to, him absolutely taking on a much stronger role in that.
And what a gift for him to be able to care for you.
Sure.
And what a gift that your family has given to you throughout this.
Yeah.
But I really want to highlight something you've said a couple times in that, is that they allowed you to be you. They allowed you to maintain those pieces of yourself that you wanted so badly. That experience of being a new mom, of being the mom and not taking that unintentionally away from you, which sometimes happens when people kind of sweep in, and then the person who's affected by the diagnosis or the injury is just kind of like more out of control. Someone else is controlling the things around them.
What you just said is so critical to this season. I've learned so much from the way that they've cared for me, about how I need to be better at caring for others. I think I felt like carrying the burden for other people is what they probably needed, instead of just asking them what they needed. And a lot of my friends have been amazing at saying, hey, what do you need? And so a friend reached out and I said, you know what, I need can someone just pick me up in my wheelchair and take me to Target?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to go to Target. And they were like, oh, really? That's easy. So you don't need me to come and do dishes. You don't need me to come. No, I just want you to take me in my wheelchair and go to Target. And I think sometimes people were coming over and I felt like a little bit of a medical case. How are you? Are you doing okay? And I know it comes from a place of concern, but I think a lot of me just wanted to feel like myself. Like, I just wanted to feel like a typical person, and we're just spending time with our friends and our family. And so we have a family that we're very close to. They have 4 kids, and they said, hey, what can we do? And I said, can you just come over and have dinner like we always do? Like, just like we always do. And so they did, and we had a blast. And, you know, I stayed safe and sat most of the time. And, you know, people are getting a lot of arm workout and carrying my son around and enjoying that because he's a hefty little guy. But, you know, it was so nice because I think sometimes we try to over care for people to the point where we're underserving them, if that makes sense. Sometimes the greatest service that we can give is to give them a very human experience and allow them to have the things that are most important to them, you know, and my family and my friends have taught me that quite a bit during the season.
That's wonderful. Did it take you a minute to get to the space where you could ask for exactly what you needed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
My whole life I've struggled with dependency. I really fight it. I don't like to be dependent upon people. I'm fiercely independent and like to take things start to finish. And it's just in my nature. So this season has just been so humbling in all the best ways. And I mean that. I needed this. Huh. And so I think I fought it. I fought the reality of the things that were happening quite a bit up front. It took me a little while to, again, mourn the loss of the things that I thought life was going to look like. But I think there was this moment where I realized that I was losing months and weeks of my life waiting for what I wanted to happen. And that wasn't going to happen. So I was just wasting this time that I had in front of me. And so I think it was in that season where I said, okay, I'm going to have to learn how to be more dependent so that I can have a more fulfilling, you know, life during this season of life, or maybe this is longer term than what I hope. Yeah. But I'm going to have to do better at that. And I think that sometimes independence can be the enemy of intimacy and connection. And I've been learning so much about that. And my friendships have become stronger. And my relationship with my sister-in-law is amazing because she's just a constant support person who's waiting for, you know, a quick call or jumping on a video chat when I'm having a tough day and walking me through it. And so I'm just learning to do that much better. And it wasn't overnight. It was a kind of painful but necessary process.
A gradual healing journey, part of your healing journey
throughout. That's a much sweeter way of saying it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like something that sort of counselors preach all the time. And we did a podcast a little while ago about the same idea of suddenly sidelined and how do you recognize it and what do you do and what does that look like? And I think one of the things that we talk about all the time, but you are living, is that idea of controlling what you can control. So it sounds like at the outset of this journey for you, you were trying to control the outcome. You were trying to control the experience as you were going through it. And at some point you decided, I can't control all of that. I can't control that I have this. I can't control the timing. I can't control the situation, but I can take back how I think about what's going on and what I choose to focus on. Can you talk a little bit more about that idea of control and controlling what you can?
Yeah, I think that 2 things played a really big part in me navigating that. One is my faith. I am a strong believer in Jesus, and I think that the experience that I've had in my faith has been a challenge to me in understanding that I don't really actually have a lot of control over many things that are going to go on. I think at times I was blaming myself, you know, should I have done more? I went from being 9 months pregnant, walking 2 miles a day and doing, you know, prenatal yoga and all the things you're supposed to do to being 2 months postpartum and not being able to hold my child. And that juxtaposition was just so drastic and so abrasive. And I think that, within that space, I had to just come to terms with the fact that I'm not going to be able to change the way my body chooses to heal. I'm not going to be able to change the perception of certain physicians, but what I can do is bring, my husband with me, have a strong advocate medically with me at all times, so that I have that other voice in the room to help advocate and support me in getting the care that I needed. That's something that I can control and manage. My first thought of the day, I can control and manage. I noticed I was waking up, my first thought was one of disappointment at times, or like, wow, I'm exhausted. I mean, I think every new parent probably feels that way. I'm not unique in any of that. So to every new parent that's out there, I'm sure that resonates with you very much, being exhausted. But along with that, I think also having some of the high levels of pain and also the lack of mobility, I had to say, what do I need to tell myself this morning that's going to help me to navigate the first 5 minutes? How am I setting up my day? And I think the first step to that was just saying, okay, hey, a morning prayer of gratitude. Thank you so much for the ability to wake up. Thank you so much for the ability to have a job that is being patient with me, and the ability to have the care that I get. Sometimes it was as simple as the sun being out in the morning, and then it gave me the space. I think the gratitude gave me the space to say, okay, now what do I need? So great, I'm really thankful for this morning, and I've got my head in the right space. Now, what do I need to get through this day effectively? Do I need help with dinner? Am I feeling well enough to do this thing, but I don't feel well enough to do this thing, and I need to be able to ask somebody for help? And I think that allowed me to have better, maybe delegation in my brain, because when I was working and operating from a space of disappointment, it makes it really difficult to reach out and to ask for help, because, to be honest, it's so chaotic in your mind and in your heart. They don't know that you know what to say.
Yeah.
And you don't really know what to control. So I think starting from a space of gratitude in the morning drastically shifted my ability to handle, things better through the rest of the day in terms of delegating or asking for support more specifically.
That is beautiful. That's a beautiful thing to talk about. Your faith and that gratitude can be so life-changing for folks, and can change your attitude and just your whole day.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you would sort of set your schedule for the day. And something that's so important for folks that are healing, that are in recovery, is pacing yourself.
Oh.
You talked initially or partway through this about being very independent, and you talked a little bit about your job. I'm going to ask you more about that in a second, but and you were a planner and a scheduler, and you had everything laid out. And it sounds like when you kind of came to that space in your journey where you went, okay, I have to do something different. You would wake up, you would experience that gratitude, sort of center yourself, and then plan your day with a pace based on how you were feeling that morning.
Yeah.
But you were still able to kind of use those planning skills to set a place for yourself that day that was going to be the best for you and the folks around you as well.
I think the most honest and raw thing that I could share is that I don't think that my emotions throughout the day are linear. I think waking up sometimes, especially if I have had zero rest with the little one and I'm having serious symptoms in the morning, where I'm struggling to stand or walk, I feel like it's natural, it's normal, it's fair to be frustrated, and that's a real honest thing. And I think lying to yourself, me lying to myself and saying I don't feel that, I think is really detrimental to my ability to then move forward in the day. So I think I have to be able to acknowledge that that I'm hurting, and then say, okay, so what am I thankful for? And then move to that. And I think that it goes back and forth a bit throughout the day, depending on what we have going on. I think that there are moments where I'm frustrated and I have these things that I'd wanted to do, because the list isn't that long anymore. You know, sometimes I just want to be able to sit and boil bottles, or I want to be able to stand and hold him for a moment. And sometimes I have to let go of that. And I think that's very difficult. And I don't want to oversimplify it because I feel like that's not being truthful about this season. I think the most truthful thing that I can say is that I feel that change in pace. And I have to decide every day, like we all do, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to sit here and am I going to be frustrated the rest of the day that I wasn't able to do the things I wanted to do? Or am I going to make an about face and say, okay, but what did I do? And what am I capable of completing through this day? Or what am I capable of doing today? And sometimes that means I'm just getting on the floor, and my son needs floor time anyway to explore. Sure. So great. We do a lot of tummy time on rough days because he's rolling around like a little nut now, and I'm loving it. And so I'm learning to appreciate the fact that he's still getting a great experience, even if I'm not doing the things I want to be able to do. And I'm still getting a great experience, even if I'm not able to do the things that I want to do. I think that my husband is a superstar. And so, obviously he has taken just such a heavy lift around all of the things in our home that I'm just not currently able to do on my own. And we've also made a lot of decisions to try to simplify life because trying to keep up with my old pace is unrealistic. And so that's been hard. I think you had mentioned about work a little bit. And a bunch of my work friends reached out and they were like, really curious how I'm doing because they know how I'm built. And they were really curious to see how I was navigating this season. So they popped over, and I think that it's probably hard for anybody. But I think it's been especially humbling and a really big growth experience for me to experience that dependency and kind of lack of control.
How has your relationship with work been throughout this process? I don't know when you were supposed to go back, or if you were still supposed to be off, or what that journey is for you.
Yeah, I was supposed to go back earlier in the fall.
Okay.
And in fact, before I went out, I love my job and I love what I get to do, and I love my coworkers so much, and they become some of my closest friends that I have in this area. And I said, I think I'll probably be back before my parental leave because I can't imagine not loving it and wanting to get back into it. And they were all like, okay, you just wait until you see what it's like to have a little one at home. And so, admittedly that, he changed the game, and he's precious. But I also think that it was very difficult because in my job, I do find it a measure of success to keep our space quiet, to just quietly continue to deliver results, to be peace in storm, to be a joyful presence amidst any chaos that may be happening. And not only was I not able to do that, but I was the chaos, and so to have the tables turned was really hard for me because to be for my style, maybe my leadership style, to be one where I'm trying to be a constant encourager, to then need encouragement. Ooh. Even just saying that gets me a little bit teary-eyed, to be honest. It's hard. It's hard to accept goodness from other people. It just is. And my coworkers have been amazing, and have come over and spent time with us on lunch breaks and evenings, and like I said, got us out of the house at times. But it's also hard because we have a new CEO and there's exciting things happening in my space, and there's still a level of disappointment. The work still has to get done and I'm not there. So obviously that puts a heavier load on other people, and the disappointment and the acknowledgement of the fact that I am causing that is it's still very difficult for me to handle, because I'm usually someone who's trying to take the weight off of other people. So to know that I'm putting it back on them is hard.
Did you feel that as disappointment in you or disappointment in your situation, in the situation that was happening?
Perhaps a little bit of both.
Okay.
And it could just be projection, right? You know, how you feel. But I tend to be someone who recovers quickly from small things and kind of goes back at it. And I'm back and we're ready and we got a smile on our face and we're going to make this a great situation. And I think through the people around me that I wasn't doing that. I wasn't able to do that physically, and that I wasn't back. And I think that I don't know that they were disappointed in me, but I think it was just surprise, perhaps, and then also maybe just disappointment in the situation.
Yeah. It's hard to have your role shift so dramatically as you've talked about. It sounds like you've used this as an opportunity to find joy in things that maybe you were unexpected for you. Where throughout this process have you discovered joy?
Oh my goodness. I mean, the moment we were in the hospital and I saw my son, it was unexplainable. I still can't describe the way that felt. We've been going through the adoption process for our daughter since 2017. And she's in China. She just turned 8. And it's a different style of parenting. And it's a different way to parent from afar. She's currently in China and they've shut down the program for intercountry adoptions. Yeah. So we had been navigating, experiencing that for so many years. And I don't know if I didn't think I deserved that amount of joy to feel that. But the moment that I saw him, I think everything in me changed, to be honest. Yeah. I'm still who I am, but I just mean that my eyes felt like they were opened for the first time to understand how very temporary this life is, and that I have a really big opportunity in front of me to be able to do an amazing thing like raise another human being. And that's wild, that we get the honor and the privilege of being able to do that. So I think that was the first experience. But it was the little things, like my mom coming in town and we watch a football game. I know that seems probably like silly, but just that sense of normalcy and doing the things that I love to do. And I think experiencing the joy of watching other people be able to be with Noah and spend time with him, being a controller. I don't think that if I was fully healthy, that everybody else would have as much time with him as what they do. And I think that would have been sad for him. Yeah. I think it was a gift for him in some cases that this is happening to me, because I think it's challenging me to let go a little bit and to allow other people to experience him in a deeper way than what I probably would have allowed, because I'd probably been a little bit more of a hoverer. Yeah. So I think just watching other people be with him is also a joy. And I think lastly, I would say it's just a joy to see the way that the Lord is moving in our lives, and that as challenging as the situation is, there's equal parts goodness that we've been seeing. Friends that have, come into our lives and that we've deepened those relationships, and we get to have real laughter and fun and intimacy and transparency, and that everything feels very real in this season. Instead of, sometimes I think we're on the hamster wheel of life and we're kind of churning. How are you? Great. I'm doing great. How are you? Great. Yep. Everyone's great. And then you sort of move on to the next set of topics. And the season of life doesn't allow for those like quick, how are you doing? Great. I'm great. Let's move on, So I think that a joy is just a deeper sense of relationship and connection to people. Yeah.
It sounds like, one, you've created such a support network around Noah, a much tighter, maybe, support network, and all of these wonderful relationships with people that you love and care about, that now love and care about him, that they've gotten to have a different experience with him, which is just amazing. That's just wonderful. I have to ask, you're using a word that I love, Do you know what word it's
don't
going to
know what
be?
it
You want to
is.
guess? Season.
Okay.
You have described this experience that you are going through as a season in your life
Yeah.
many times, which is amazing. Tell me more about how that framing of this as a season just impacts you. Where does that come from?
You know, God has been working on me for a really long time, a really long time. And I think he probably will until the day that I die, which I hope is a really, really long time from now. But when we started the adoption process for our daughter, we had timelines set up on how we were expecting everything to go. And then here we are 8 years later, and she's not here. And I think that I lost years of my life mourning and staying in the space of mourning, which is okay at times to allow yourself time to do that effectively. But I think that I gave up on all the things that were still very good around me while I ached to be able to get her home, and still do very much. So I think it provided necessary perspective. And I think that I think he was preparing my heart for the season that whole time, to understand that this may not be a forever thing. And I have a choice on how today is going to go. I can't change yesterday. I can't even figure out what's going to happen next, but I can decide how I show up today. I can decide that I'm going to live in a space of gratitude and honesty with myself today, so that whatever happens after this, I'm not the same person that I was when I went into it. And I think sometimes our culture has a tendency to say resiliency is your ability to continue to show up with a smile on your face like nothing's happening. And I think that's such a damaging approach, right? Like it's lying to yourself, it's lying to the people around you. And I think it's also keeping you stuck. And maybe I'll just say keeping me stuck. I think there were many seasons of life where I did that. And I think choosing to be honest with myself about with wants and hopes and dreams that I had for this season, the mourning that it wasn't going to happen, and then also the focus on what I can do about this has changed, continues to change that perspective, where I understand that this may not be a lifelong thing, but I can get on the other side of this and still love where I am today, you know?
That's wonderful. As we kind of come to the close of our podcast here, it's been wonderful talking with you. Is there anything that for folks that might be out there watching, sitting on their couch, maybe they just got a diagnosis or they just suffered an injury or there's something going on with them, what advice would you give to folks?
Yeah. I mean, first is that you are deeply loved. Whether it be from a place of faith, I believe that to be true. I also think that there are people around you who are just waiting to love you and serve you. And it's okay to feel a little unsafe up front, to ask for help. But be specific, because people want you to be specific. And I'm learning that saying, can you grab a gluten-free cheesesteak from Jersey Mike's is a lot easier than them trying to guess what to do for me for a night. And so I would just say, like, you're deeply loved, and just take a moment to reach out to people, to invite them into the season that you're in, to know that you're not alone, because you're actually not alone, because other people are going to come alongside you. And then to tell them that there's hope on the other side of this, but there's also goodness in today. There's something really beautiful that's happening in your day-to-day, and you just have to pause, be honest with yourself about the hurt you're feeling, and then see the goodness in it so that you can live it.
That is some amazing advice. I'm so happy and just pleased for you that you have so many people around you that have been supportive and helpful and there for you, and that you've been able to ask for help. I always like to share with people as well, if you do find yourself that you don't have that, or for folks maybe that experience things beyond their control, that they're not able to kind of get back in to seek outside help too. There's so many resources out there for folks if you need it, but there's always hope. There's always hope. And I love that. And I've very much enjoyed talking with you, and I love your story, and I love that you see what's coming next. And you're going that way in a very positive, uplifting, loving way. I love all of that. But thank you so much for taking time to talk with me. And I'll just say thanks to all of you for joining us on our CommQuest Hope Discovered podcast, and take care of yourselves. Thank you.